August 1957, Washington, D.C. Senator John F. Kennedy of Massachusetts takes the floor of the United States Senate. He is 40 years old. He has been a senator for 5 years. He is already thinking about running for president, and he is about to deliver a speech that will infuriate the Israeli government and American Jewish organizations. The speech is about Algeria, about French colonialism, about independence movements across the world. But buried in this speech is a statement about the Middle East. Kennedy says that the United States should support the right of the Arab refugees to repatriation or to adequate compensation for their lost lands and property. This is the first time a major American political figure has publicly endorsed the principle that Palestinian refugees have a right to return to their homes or receive compensation. The Israeli government is shocked. American Jewish leaders are furious. They demand Kennedy clarify his position. They pressure him to retract the statement. Kennedy refuses. He stands by his words. And this moment becomes a turning point in how Israel views the young senator who, 3 years later, will become president. Into this context, in August 1957, came Senator John F. Kennedy's speech. The speech was titled Imperialism, the Enemy of Freedom. Kennedy delivered it on July 2, 1957, on the Senate floor. The primary subject was Algeria, which was fighting for independence from France. Kennedy argued that the United States should support independence movements and oppose European colonialism.
In the middle of this speech about Algeria, Kennedy made a broader argument about American foreign policy in the developing world. He said the United States needed to support self-determination, support refugees, support human rights. Then Kennedy said this, "Yet, what have we done to the Middle East? Instead of recognizing the legitimate claims of the Arab refugees to repatriation or compensation for their lost lands and property, which we voted for in the United Nations in 1948, we have allowed their just demands to become subordinated to other strategic considerations." This was the key sentence. Kennedy was saying that Palestinian refugees had legitimate claims to return to their homes or receive compensation. He was saying the United States had voted for this principle in 1948 but had failed to follow through. He was criticizing American policy for ignoring refugee rights. Kennedy continued, "The Arab world has been increasingly driven to extremism because of this. The Middle East will remain unstable as long as this problem is unsolved." Kennedy was arguing that the refugee crisis was fueling Arab radicalism, that solving it was necessary for regional stability. He was making a pragmatic argument. American interests required addressing Palestinian grievances.
Kennedy, in 1957, genuinely believed that Palestinian refugees had legitimate claims. He believed international law, specifically UN Resolution 194, should be respected. He believed that ignoring the refugee problem was both unjust and strategically unwise. But Kennedy also believed in Israel's right to exist and to be secure. He did not believe Israel should be forced to accept actions that would threaten its Jewish character. He tried to find a balance between these two positions. As president, Kennedy found that balance impossible to achieve. The gap between Palestinian demands and Israeli red lines was too wide. The political costs of trying to bridge that gap were too high, so he stopped trying. The text of Kennedy's July 2, 1957 speech is available in the congressional record. Anyone can read it. The exact words Kennedy used are preserved. There is no ambiguity about what he said. Kennedy said the legitimate claims of the Arab refugees to repatriation or compensation for their lost lands and property, which we voted for in the United Nations in 1948. He used the words legitimate claims.
He used the word repatriation, which means return. He said the United States had voted for this principle. These are facts, not interpretations. The question is what Kennedy meant by these words and whether he would have acted on them if he had lived longer as president.
To the left, back and to the left, back and to the left.